Hello and welcome to the Unlock Your Life Purpose Summit. I am your host, Lorna Moon. Today we have a wonderful guest. His name is Alvin Law. He is a motivational speaker and a former radio broadcaster. He's also a very unique individual, and not just because of his winning personality. He was born with some unique physical characteristics that made him who he is today. So welcome, Alvin.
Thank you, Lorna. Yeah, it's a pleasure, really, to be here with you today on your wonderful show. I commend you for trying to tip the balance of our globe into a more positive, giving nature, because we sure as heck need more of that right now.
Absolutely, we do. And your lake behind you is just so gorgeous. I'm like,
Thank
just
you.
want to just relax and have the cold iced tea.
I'm in a place called Crystal Lake, Saskatchewan. That's a hard word to say.
Saskatchewan.
It's actually in the middle of Canada. We're in the prairies. We're technically about 2.5, 3 hours drive north of the American border, and we're right about 50 minutes away from the Manitoba border on the eastern side of Canada. And my family started coming out to this beautiful place in the late 1940s. And I grew up coming out here in the summers, and now my wife and I have our own cottage here. My brother's cottage is about 10 cottages down. So it's really very much more than just pretty. It's got an incredible meaning to me. It gave me a lot of gifts, the gift of adventure, the gift of exploration, but probably more than anything, the gift of me, which for many people did not see me that way, because as you may now, by those of you watching, tell, I was born without arms. And I know that is something that is more common today because of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely not common in 1960 when I came to planet Earth. And I think what's really fascinating and why that's important is because today's story, at least in my mind, is not meant to be, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, aren't I amazing? It's about look what can become amazing in your own life. And that's why, again, well done, Lorna, doing this, because I think we're becoming a little bit of a confused society with all the mixed messages on every platform available. And there's just an awful lot of people that are out there, in my opinion, that seem to want to play the blame game. And if I was to blame this on anything, it would be on a morning sickness medication known as thalidomide. What's interesting is there are birth defects that happen every day in our modern world. Thousands of them, actually, which shocks people.
Yeah.
So this was caused by a drug. Other people's may be caused by natural causes. But what makes my life completely different than your average individual is I was given an incredible gift, the gift of having no arms. And I know people may think I'm just saying that, but this was actually the bigger gift. At 5 days of age, I was homeless.
Wow.
Yeah, my birth family, this is not a disparaging comment, they just couldn't cope. They weren't teenagers, they were actually young farmers in rural Saskatchewan, about an hour down the road from this cottage. And they were very poor. They had no resources. They had 2 small children, and then me. But even more importantly, Lorna, this was 1960.
Yeah.
You know, we're grappling with a lot of historical problems right now. You know, things in your country, things in our country, in Canada. And I get that. But I just want to mention this because thalidomide was a terrible thing. And my birth family did not give me away because they were terrible people. But that's where I got the big gift. And that was, I was adopted. Is there anything better in the world than a child that is born into a home where they are wanted and loved? And if I was going to get right down to the bits and pieces of what makes, in my opinion, human beings tick, it's what happens in the first 5 years of their life.
Wow. That is so true. And I know from my studies of the brain, they said from between the ages of 0 and 7 is most of what's in your head, and that's running the show.
Yeah, but let me now answer to all of those people that are saying, yeah, see there, that's why I didn't have a loving home. I grew up in a single parent home. I didn't know my dad, or whatever the story is. It's a valid story. It is your story. But if I can also suggest this, why I say that I was given the gift of my home that I was adopted into, this is the big, big deal. My mom was actually 55 years old when I was a baby, and my dad was 53. And they weren't adopting children because they wanted to adopt a child. They actually had a foster home for problem teens with addiction.
Wow.
And when I came along to the hospital and had nowhere to go, the social worker in town knew my mom and said, Hilda Law, you need a big favor. Now, I know that you are a woman of faith. I am also a man, but not of faith that I got to go out there and show off. I keep it very private. But my mom was a woman of great faith. So in her mind, it wasn't a call from a social worker. It was a call from God.
Mm-hmm.
And God said, this little baby needs you. But what's even more incredible, and I think this sounds pretty full of myself, but I am able to touch people's lives, not because I am amazing with my feet, which I use as hands. But I think when you get in the same room with me, you can feel that I'm blessed. And you can feel the love. And I think more than anything, you can feel my connection. That's what I love about the lake. It's pretty. Yes, it's very pretty. But it's water. I'm a water baby. I'm a Cancer, right? But also, I love swimming. I love being in the ocean. I love being in nature. I love celebrating what I've got. That was the first lesson I remember being taught as a child, because that was the foster home model, you see? Their professing was very simple, not religious, but you came to our home not by accident. We're going to help you with your addiction. We're going to move you on, maybe to a different home, maybe back to the home you came from, but whatever. If you want to be a better person, you cannot blame your past on your problems. You have to work towards the future. But here's the key, and I think you really get this. You have to celebrate every single day that it is a gift. It is, I know things are bad for some people out there. I get that. But the fact of the matter is, I live this every day. And if you met my friends or my wife or my family, you'd notice one thing they all have in common, and is that they all feel the same way about their lives.
Wow. Each day is a gift. And your mom who adopted you, I mean, that's just, I mean, not only, taking in teens with addiction, because let me just tell you, I've had my own challenges at that age, and I can't imagine anybody wanting to voluntarily take that on.
Yes, but that's the trouble, is so many people that are in the middle of addiction or a bad life can't imagine their own value.
And that is exactly what it is.
Sure. So when you picture this, okay, here's a really good one. I got a chance to meet my birth family.
Uh-huh.
All right. That's what a lot of adopted kids talk about. They want to meet what they call their real family. Okay. If I can give you an Alvin Law quote, it takes more than giving birth to earn the title mom.
Yeah.
Okay. And we know that, especially these days with a lot of blended families, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So my mom was already a mom, the mom that raised me. But when I met my birth mom, it was out of an acknowledgement to her, because there was a lot of stories coming out in Canada at the time, in the early 90s, about the drug thalidomide. There were discussions with the government about, financial compensation, with, the problem with allowing the drug into the country. Mm-hmm. That's a whole other chapter of a story. But the fact is, it was in mainstream media.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was being interviewed. And
I'm sure.
I got interviewed, the press would say, so you were abandoned. And I got wind of this idea that my birth mother was not happy with the way that she was being presented. Yeah. So my wife talked me into meeting her and my family, not because I was looking for my family, I had one, but because I wanted to acknowledge the woman that gave me my life, but also to thank her for giving me the gift of giving me away. But what I learned from her, and she was a fine lady, we lost her a year ago at 92 years old.
Wow, 92.
Yeah, amazing, huh? Mm-hmm. She was I would say, this is a bit of a cliche expression, the polar opposite of my mom, Hilda Law, that raised me.
Really?
My mother, who gave birth to me, would have done everything for me, would have been feeling sorry for me, would have felt guilty, like a lot of the moms of thalidomide babies. They were embarrassed. It was almost like this deformed child was their fault. And that was the way that it was presented. I'm sorry, it was the drug company's fault. And they are still in existence today. Their name is Grunenthal, and they need to be outed for what they did wrong. But here's the irony. Thalidomide is also around to this day because it is the only known cure of leprosy, And it is a major treatment for the blood cancer that a lot of people experience, multiple myeloma. It also
Wow.
has been known to treat certain cancers. And it was known when it first started getting known again to treat symptoms of AIDS. So here's the trouble. The drug actually itself wasn't the problem. The way that it was sent out to the market was. And I can add one more thing to this, and I'm not being preachy. America in particular is not addicted to the street drugs. America is addicted to pharmaceutical medication. Because one of the problems that we have in our Western culture is the quick fix.
Yeah.
And when I met my birth mom, she was so confused, said, I should have took you home. I should have kept you. And my reason for telling your audience this is that what you're seeing today is an almost 60-year-old man who had a life journey that was never easy. And I wanted to make sure my birth mother understood this was the product of an immense amount of hard work on my part and on the part of my parents, Jack and Hilda Law. You don't succeed in this world by sending an order into Amazon and success comes to your door.
No, you definitely don't.
You know, and I think that's why your story is also compelling, Lorna. You know, I really mean it. I think a lot of people wonder why people like you and I choose to tell our stories. It's not to put it out in public so we can get a trophy.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I think you might agree. We're given this opportunity to share what we've learned from our bad experiences. So pray to God somebody else won't have to go through theirs.
That is, you hit the nail on the head right there. You hit the nail on the head.
Do you have an audience that is looking to improve themselves? Because what I can suggest to you is you've come to the right place. This is part of the life journey. I'm not always a fan of the internet and social media, but especially now during the lockdown, which, by the way, is not the same in Canada as it is in the United States. America, listen carefully. This is not a hoax. It's really happening. Let me tell you why I know this. Because a dear friend of mine lost both of his parents 3 days apart due to COVID, and he couldn't even kiss them goodbye because he couldn't go into the hospital because it was locked down because of this real life thing. And I know people are going, no, it's just this is an alien conspiracy. Come on, people. This is real. And why I'm saying this is being a test. This is a test for us. I believe everything is a test. But right now is a huge test. You know, like when you look at your kids, are you getting tired of them yet? And let's be honest. Why wouldn't you? You know? Or are you experiencing new joy in their being around you? You know? Here's an example. I live in Calgary, Canada. For the first time in the history of the Humane Society in Calgary, Canada, they have no pets up for adoption.
Wow.
Everybody came in and got a pet. Now, should they have? I don't know. I hope so. All I know is when we start to look at the benefits of this bad stuff, that becomes a habit in our life. We must always see the good, no matter what it is. And in the middle of all of this Black Lives Matters, it's not a good time because we're not spending the right energy. I think, in fact, to be quite blunt, Lorna, I'm a little bit insulted by the idea that this is a difference between white and black. No, this is a race and the issue of what it actually is. And it goes both ways.
Powerful.
What do you think? Well, I mean, you know, you live in the South.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I think what's really bothering me about this more than anything is, and this is where sensibilities like mine get a bit challenging, because I don't see color. And I know that sounds like a really predictable thing for a white guy to say.
Yeah.
But let me tell you why I learned that. When I was a little boy, I talk about my mom. My dad was an incredible man. He was a service manager for a farm implement dealership. So he spent all of his days trying to please farmers. I don't know if you know a farmer. They're hard to please. But more than anything, they are what we call salt of the earth people.
Yes.
Right? They're just regular, hard-working, everyday folks. And what I grew up understanding was a lot of things, but here is an absolute truth. One of the most memorable quotes that I grew up listening to from my father was from Dr. King. When he talked about character being more important than color of skin. I'm paraphrasing.
Yes.
Because I grew up thinking I will not be successful. And my dad went, son, it's not because you don't have any arms. That's not going to be your handicap. Your handicap is going to be between your ears.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can become a person of strong character, and again, we lived in a home of faith where I was blessed by God, not cursed by the devil.
Yes.
So you just learn to be a person of character. Therefore, you don't judge other people of color. You don't judge people that speak a different language. You don't judge people because they're living on the street. You don't judge someone because they've got a job you wanted. You know,
Yes.
you ever heard of a thing called, I bet you have, sympathetic joy?
Mm-hmm.
Being happy for someone else's success.
Yes.
Right, well, there you go. What's so hard about that? But I bet you it's one of the biggest problems in our Western culture. Envy, jealousy, somebody being successful and you hating them for it. I can promise you, you will never be successful if you hate other people for theirs.
No. And I don't know if it's some mindset that says, oh, because this person was successful, that it takes like away some potential that you had, but that because that person got it. It's like, this isn't like a piece of pie. This isn't like a pie that your mom baked where there's only like so many pieces of it. And then it's gone, it's gone. And if your brother ate 2 pieces, then there's not one for you. And I think that that's kind of, people think of life that way and they think of success that way. And it's ridiculous because 2 people can't succeed in exactly the same way because there's no 2 people that are alike. I could never do what you do because I'm not you. And the same as you couldn't do what I do because you're not me. You don't have, whatever little mix of traits and all of the stuff God sprinkled in us. It's not the same.
And by the way, I'm not talking about complete absence of negativity.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very important point to make. Positive attitude isn't some motivational speaker cliche.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, asking the question, are you a glass half full or a glass half empty person? Actually, I'm a glass is full all the time person.
Yeah.
And it's out there. I've learned this though along the way. I didn't know this. A lot of this came from my being an adult. My wife is actually very, very she's a feng shui master and she's a decluttering expert. And she teaches classes on giving people the idea of how they can arrange their lives in a way that their energy flows through their life.
Mm-hmm.
And what she said to me one day is, honey, the universe gives every single day. You just have to ask. And I'm going, so if I want a brand new car, well, sorta, but not really. It's got to come from a different kind of intention. And I think that's where we need to understand our connection with whatever faith you have. If it's God, great. If it's Buddha, great. If it's Hindu, if you're an atheist, that's another one that bugs me. And I'm going to just say this: judgmental Christians, they kind of bug me a little bit. Why? Because that's not what God talked about.
No.
And I think really at the end of the day, I'm just going to say this: I think that if people say to me all the time, if you could change your life, would you have arms? If you could have one wish, no. Alvin Law has no arms. This is my identity. Look, I want your people to do this. When they're done watching this, go to alvinlaw.com.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's a really good video on there called "What's Your Label?"
What's your
It's
label?
done by a company called Goalcast. What's your label? It's right on my main page. You can also find it on YouTube. But if you watch the "What's Your Label" video, you will see my story in 7 minutes. Pictures of me with my family, pictures of me with my wife, pictures of me as a baby. You'll see how, come on, I was an ugly baby. I really was. I was sitting there with these huge door handles on my ear, sticking out of my head. I was not a good looking baby. And yet there's pictures of my mother holding me and you can just see the love. I want people to see that, not because I want them to feel left out if they didn't have any. Because here's the lesson. If we didn't have that growing up or when we're even now in life, we must not think of it as being cheated.
Yeah.
We figure it out how to deliver the same feelings that we would like or that we would desire. And we do it by listening to shows like yours, reading books. I've got a book, Alvin's Laws of Life. But when they go to the website, I also want them to see something else. They'll see that I'm playing music. That was the biggest life change of my entire life. Quick story. A band director in my little hometown of Yorkton, Saskatchewan, called my mom one day when I was in 5th grade because I got 96% on a music aptitude test.
Wow.
They did the tests because they wanted to see which kids would be best suited to be put in band. So the band director wanted me to be in the band. And my mom is kind of like, really? This is amazing. I can't believe it. Really? What instrument? The band director says, well, I don't care. He can play any instrument he wants. Just let him pick one. And then mom kind of goes, Kate, have you met him? And the fact was he'd never met me, right? He was the director of music. He worked in an office and then he worked in the band hall. He didn't know me. So when he found out I had no arms, that kind of freaked him out, kind of like my birth family. But he made a different choice than my birth family. He didn't discard me. He phoned back 6 weeks later and he mounted a trombone on the side of a chair with metal rods and clamps that I played. I'm going to use my foot like this.
Wow, a trombone.
Yeah. So because I got into band, I developed confidence. I became skilled. I became an excellent musician. I practiced all the time.
Wow.
I got into jazz, so I actually started becoming a bit cool. Started playing the drums because I just wanted to play the drums. So mom and dad bought me an old crappy used set that I played for years until I got a better set. And the set that I have today is from 1969. They were bought used in 1974. I don't need a fancy schmancy set of drums, but I play them with my feet. Oh, and by the way, I also play the piano. Now,
I can't even play the piano. What's my excuse?
Okay, so here's why I'm telling your audience. That's exactly what you just said. Look, I'm going to be really blunt. People
can't play any of those instruments. What's my excuse? Seriously.
Everyone's allowed an excuse, but nobody should be allowed to blame. Those are two completely different emotions. And why I mention music is because here's the deal. Anybody in the audience, you included, Lorna, ever want to play an instrument? Well, you come into the perfect time. Hey, go get a cello. Go buy a harmonica. Go buy a fiddle. Go buy a ukulele. You know, buy a harmonica. Whatever it takes, take it home with you in the middle of being locked down and learn to play an instrument, or learn to draw a picture, or learn to paint, or learn to put a machine together. This is the perfect time to develop your abilities and your skills and your confidence so that you can move into a better place in your life. Because this is living proof right here, Lorna. There is a better place for all of us. But it's not up in heaven. It's right here on earth.
Wow. That was a truth bomb right there. Boom. Oh, wow.
You bet.
I have no excuse. I need to find a used cello now so I can learn to play it. I've always loved the cello.
Well, can I tell you about my wife just real quick? I know we're running out of time. Yeah. My wife, Darlene, is very deaf. She's gotten progressively deaf since I met her almost 30 years ago. And it's a genetic thing. And I love music. So what do I do when I'm in my car? And I drive, by the way, as well. I steer with my right foot on the wheel and my left foot on the gas.
I love it.
I play tunes. And because I'm a musician, I like to sing along. And because my wife is deaf, she can't sing. She's bad. But I let her wail away because even though she's out of tune and it drives my perfect pitch brain crazy, I love her more than I care about her sounding bad. So when you go buy your cello, don't worry about being in the symphony because it's your own symphony.
Yes. Yes. Oh, you know what? That's so true. That's so true. Because the reason I never have tried to play cello is I had a friend who had who played violin, and I spent the night at her house a lot when I was a kid, and I would like try and play her violin, and she was like, "It sounds like a dying cat."
Yeah, well, actually, and that's the other thing too, is that I really was very fortunate to be given, other skills, perfect pitch, perfect time. Actually, what's really funny is when I play the drums, I have perfect time, which is what a drummer's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and even more importantly, I wanted to be a musician. Not the guy without arms who plays the drums with his feet. That is true. Both are true. Yeah. But I tend to, that's why that label video is so important. I think that's why I mentioned it again, because it's really about the label we put on ourselves.
Well, I'm going to put a button below this video to link directly to it, because I think that's really important that people see that.
Yeah, and again, it's really, to be honest with you, I'm shocked that Goalcast, with the scope of the normal people that it puts on its videos, like Nelson Mandela, Aretha Franklin when she passed away, I mean, all these people that are out there, these famous people that are on social media with Goalcast, they're wonderful. Just go to goalcast.com and sign up, because they've got really wonderful, inspirational videos. Denzel Washington's just came out the other day. So have a look. But more than anything, I'm just so proud to present what their goal in life through Goalcast is. And I'm not a pitch man for them, okay?
Yeah.
They're trying to provide a balance in a social media platform that celebrates life, doesn't complain about it.
And that's, we need so much more of that. If we could overfill social media with that sort of thing and get rid of the complaining and the whining and this how terrible my life is. Let me one up you. No, mine's more terrible. And just have more inspiration. This world would be so good.
Well, I think, I don't know if everybody wants to agree with me on this one or not. That's not why I'm saying it. But that's another thing that I learned from some great leaders of our past. Another one that Dr. King talked about. Anger brings more anger. Darkness brings more dark. The only way to get through this is with more light and with love. And you know what? That's probably the key to everything. We need to love more. And not love in the nasty internet bad stuff way. Love the way two human beings can be loved together, right? A dad and a son, a mom and a daughter, an aunt and an uncle, a grandparents. God, I love my dog.
Yeah.
My dog just looks at me and goes, dude, why do you keep petting my head like that and saying you love me and kissing my nose? Why do you keep doing that? I just love the dog. His name is Murphy, by the way. Murphy Law. Isn't that funny?
I love it, Murphy Law. That's so great.
Anyway.
That's so great. Wow.
Lorna, this has been a very special day with you. I appreciate this immensely.
Wow. It's been so amazing. Everything that you shared, and just so much inspiration, and just, so many nuggets for people to, dive into, because life's short and none of us know when our time's up. And so we need to make the most of it now, not wait for some future date then when things will be more convenient or more whatever, you have more money or more time, or because those days, you wait for those days and then your life is gone and they may never come. So we need to seize the day and do everything that we can now. Learn that instrument, play it, even if you play it badly, don't worry, just do it, right?
Yeah. And I think that what your audience will find out, if they already don't know this, and you know this, and I know this, we get abundance in our life by giving it.
Yes. That's
why this has been a real pleasure today.
Thank you so much for all your insight, Alvin. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lorna. It means a lot to me. And to the audience, here's 3 words you need to start using as your mantra every single day. I want you to write it down, put it on a wall. Every day you'll see it. Draw a little smiley face underneath it. And then say these 3 words. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
I can. Yes, I can.
I love it.
Yes, I can. Thank you for this, Lorna. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.